You're listening to Bullpen Science with Dr. Richard Aplin, the podcast that gives you real health solutions to your real health problems. And now, your visionary host, Dr. Richard Aplin.
Hi, it's Dr. Richard Aplin with Bullpen Science, and we're at the NeuroInfinity Certification and Training course, and I'm sitting with a very special guest. This is Dr. Richard Barwell. Dr. Barwell and I have known each other for a number of years. I consider him a very close friend and also a mentor. Dr. Barwell is the founder of Neurologically Based Chiropractic, and for those patients who have enjoyed the work that we do in our practice, have come to recognize that the NeuroInfinity unit that we use doing all of our stress testing is actually a product of the mind of Dr. Barwell. So, Dr. Barwell, welcome to Bullpen Science.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here talking with you.
Yes, and one of the things that I've thought about as I was preparing for this program was the importance of moving the mindset of people away from pain to brain. Give us some insights on that if you don't mind.
Well, that's one of the biggest challenges that we have in the current health programs that have been sort of set up with the mindset that the pain is what we have to wait for before we do anything. You know, we have to have the symptom before we decide that we're going to go and get any care. The problem is the pain is really the last bastion where the body has finally said, I've got these problems, I cannot handle it anymore, and the conscious mind needs to know. So it creates, in this case, pain. It may be even a malfunctioning kidney, or it may be something else, skin rash. But all of those signs and symptoms, including the pain, are just merely the subconscious finally saying, I can't take this anymore, you need to know we're in big trouble. And by doing this, by waiting until the end of this, we've already got a program that's in place that's causing a lot of disruption within the body. We have this current concepts in medicine have been waiting till you have symptoms and then doing something about it. And they want to talk about early health care, but they still have to have signs and symptoms to do something about it. When it comes to pain, you can take a painkiller and get rid of the pain, but that doesn't solve the cause of that pain. And that's the danger part of this whole thing.
Yeah, and you know what, and it's not just a danger for adults, it's also a danger for children, and a lot of children that really have not formulated a way of communicating pain, and so we see these kids act out, we see these kids with sleep disorders, we see them with digestive issues, and they haven't really gotten to the point where they understand that this is actually the end product of a process, and not until you address the process can you really control what's going on in the human body.
Absolutely. It's incredible. The greatest soother in the world is a parent, especially a mother, taking a child who's hurt themselves, and seriously, the mother says it's going to be okay and gives them the love pat, you'll be all right. And the child grows up thinking that, well, it still hurts, but I guess mom says it's okay. And we don't even get a glimpse into how serious that child is in trouble. And it could be genetic, which is, involves, it's not as big as people like to make it, but genetics do play a role, or it can be in utero, or it can be during childbirth, or shortly thereafter, where something has happened to that particular child that's not going to manifest until they're in teenage years or adult years even. And then now we've got a real problem because it's been there a long time.
Wow. I was really excited today. We actually got to sit and listen to one of the doctors, the presenters, who is heading up the new research division for Neurologically Based Chiropractic. And honestly, I've been around this a long time. And you have. Luckily, you've been here longer than I have, but we won't get into that. But Dr. Roy, in his work for research for neurologically based chiropractic, was absolutely amazing. I mean, it really got me fired up. It's nice to see that now we're going to be able to put the information out in the general public as to really the truths that we have been talking about all along, but we really didn't have the proof published in a way that is acceptable in the scientific community. But the near future, we're going to be seeing that. That's exciting.
Oh, listen, here's the problem that we have. We've looked at thousands and thousands of stress response testing around the world, different countries, and we see that well over 90% of the people that we test are already in trouble. Their nervous systems are already in fight-flight. They're already responding to stress. They're not recovering from that stressor, and now the problem starts to build. It's like 90% worldwide.
Wow.
Now, they haven't developed all the symptoms yet, but I can guarantee you this. The symptoms are going to follow, because now you cannot run a system out of balance like that for any length of time before it starts to show up. Example, autoimmune system disorders are out of control, and type 2 diabetes, which is an autoimmune system disorder, believe it or not, here's what happened. Now they're starting to grow exponentially, and it's all based on the fact that stress is not being managed correctly by the body. It's now getting out of balance.
Now with you saying what you're saying, it makes sense to me why the pharmaceutical industry is as big as it is, because there is no scientific group that actually has an answer for trying to control these conditions. I mean, they can manage the condition, they can sedate it or they can excite it, but they can't really stop the situation because they're not even looking at the fact that it's the end product of this process. So to get real health care, you got to change the science.
This is amazing. When you think about all illnesses and diseases are founded on stress on that system that pushes the system out of balance, and it's not getting back into balance. So how can you taking a medication that's going to unbalance it even further to one side be the solution? It can't. It's just, it may solve one of the problems, but it's going to create 2 or 3 others. And what do we end up with? We end up with seniors on 20 to 25 different drugs, most of them to offset the effect of the previous drug.
Yes,
It's crazy.
It is amazing. And, that's the kind of information that the doctors are gaining this weekend. And there are some new doctors that have joined the NI family. And I'm just excited seeing these doctors and how they're pulling in this information, and the new doctors that are coming on as instructors and faculty members to help us spread this word. So, Dr. Barwell, I really do appreciate the time that you have given us today on our podcast, and I look forward to working with you.
I have one final thought before we go on.
All right.
The thing is, we know this is happening. The good news about all of this is we know that we can turn this thing around with stress responses in the body. We're out of balance. We know how to get it back into balance. So we're not just stuck with it. It's not just a dead-end street. This is a very hopeful situation. And we know how the chiropractic adjustment actually alters that brain function and helps bring it back into normal balance. That was the most exciting thing about the research that come in. So it's always fun, Dr. Aplin. You and I go back a long ways, and I think you got a bazinga in here on my being around longer than you. But
yes.
I'll get even somewhere down the road.
Well, thank you very much for joining us today on Bullpen Science, and I look forward to the next podcast. Have a great day.
You've been listening to Bullpen Science with Dr. Richard Aplin. To learn more about real health solutions to your real health problems, call us at 256-203-9433 or visit us online at envisionchiropractic.com today.